Hand cannons across both PC and console have seen some buffs in Destiny 2 with update 1.1.4, and alongside those changes we've seen really kind of a shifting in the hand cannons that you see being used a lot in PvP. Beforehand it used to just basically be the better devils, but now there's plenty of weapons out there that you can really have a good time with in both PvE and PvP. What's going on, Guardians? Today we are going to be taking a look at one of those hand cannons, specifically one that a lot of people have been singing the praises of. We're looking at the Nature of the Beast. This Crucible energy hand cannon can be rewarded to you either as an in-game drop in a PvP match via a Crucible faction engram, or, as is the case this week, as a direct purchase from Lord Shaxx himself. And let me tell you, Guardians, you might want to go ahead and pick this thing up because it's actually pretty darn fun. Let's take a look at the stats on the Nature of the Beast. Alright, this hand cannon is in the Precision Frame 180 RPM class. In the sight tree, it's rocking the Crossfire HCS, which gives you a bit more range and slightly decreases your stability and handling speed, and the Steady Hand HCS, which both increases stability and increases your handling speed. Now, generally, more range is always better when it comes to hand cannons and most weapons in Destiny 2, but I was really able to benefit from the decent utility that both of these sights offer. More range is probably the better option, so you should probably go with Crossfire there. This gun's already got a really high base stability stat of like 65. Not to mention its recoil pattern is one of those ones where the gun doesn't really kick up, it kind of shoots the barrel back just a little bit. So while the extra stability you get from Steady Hand is pretty good, Crossfire is probably going to be your best bet in PvP. Next up, perk-wise, it's got a pendant mag. This weapon's magazine is built for higher capacity. It increases the magazine size, and then of course accurized rounds, which gives this gun a bit of extra range. Having a higher magazine size is always good, but we know with hand cannons, range is probably one of, if not the most important stat there. So you really want to pick up accurized rounds just to maximize the effective range this gun is going to have. Of the precision tier of hand cannons, Nature of the Beast's normal range is a little on the low side. Its base range stat is 40. When you compare that to stuff like a Cold Sweat and West of Sunfall, they have a bit higher of a base range at like 44 and 45. So this gun definitely needs all the range it can get, and you'll feel that when you're playing around with it in PvP. But finally, it's got the Dragonfly, the newly buffed Dragonfly perk. Precision kills create an elemental damage explosion. You're really going to feel this one in PvE. Dragonfly got buffed almost up to the levels of Firefly in Destiny 1, so it's much better, it's much more visceral, and the explosion you get from those headshot kills is absolutely satisfying. Now, let's talk a bit about this weapon's performance in PvP. Now, at first, I gotta say, I really love the way this thing feels. It's definitely weird with the recoil pattern where it kind of pops back at you rather than shooting up. A lot of the energy hand cannons do that, especially the prophecy weapons you can get from completing Curse of Osiris. But Nature of the Beast feels really good. It's very snappy, it's got a really decent aim assist stat of 76, the recoil direction is 80, so it feels like a very solid weapon when you're shooting. It's not hard to aim, it's not hard to land most of your shots. But for my first couple of matches with this, when I was just trying to get a feel for the weapon, I was really having a rough time securing kills. It was easy to break shields and bring people down to like a sliver of health, but I was having the hardest time securing those kills. Usually having to swap to my Antiope or some other primary to clean things up, and I was wondering like, man, is this thing just not putting out enough damage? Am I out of range? What's going on here? Until I realized I was using the gun incorrectly. This is a precision tier, a precision archetype of hand cannon, and you really have to land your headshots. I know that seems silly and kind of like, duh, of course you do, but let me explain. The optimal time to kill on the Nature of the Beast, on the 180 RPM archetype of hand cannons, is 1 second flat. You gotta land 4 crit shots and boom. That's faster than basically every other archetype of hand cannon in the game. And believe me, when you land those 4 crispy crits, you definitely feel it. But if you're not landing your optimal shots, if you're not landing those precision shots, that time to kill jumps up to a full 2 seconds. That's right, 2.0. That's also higher than every other archetype except for the aggressive frame archetype of hand cannons, which means that time to kill shoots absolutely through the roof if you're not landing precision shots. So once I kind of realized that, I was playing with this weapon kind of like I do with pulse rifles, where it's okay to land maybe a burst or two in the head and then just focus on the body to clean up the kill because their time to kill is fast enough with some of those faster firing pulse rifles. With the nature of the beast, no. If you do that, your time to kill is going to shoot through the roof, so you have to make sure you're landing those headshots. This, despite the fact that it's got a very high rate of fire, is meant to be a precision weapon. It's just like those high rate of fire hand cannons back in Destiny 1. They had a really great competitive time to kill, but you had to land your headshots. We're not like back in the old Thorn days. And so once I realized that, started taking things a little bit slower, making sure I was actively aiming for the head, not just trying to get 2 headshots and then a bunch of body shots, this thing really started to shine for me in PvP. Its range could definitely be a little bit better. I felt myself being outgunned by auto rifles and pulse rifles at the farther edges of mid-range, but closer up, this thing was definitely fun to shoot. And the gun's high aim assist and decent stability definitely make it fairly easy to stay on target. I mostly played around with this gun on the PC version of the game where it's performing pretty darn well, but I'd imagine on console where they just buffed aim assist and like accuracy for in-air and for hipfire, it probably feels pretty darn good. Just so long as you're landing those crits, and again, I know that's kind of a duh thing to say, but if you go and take this thing out for a spin, you'll really see what I'm talking about. If you're getting body shots, this thing is going to feel like it takes absolutely forever to get a kill. But if you're landing those crits, it's kind of nice how quickly you can lace people down. It probably doesn't have as much utility as some of the pulse rifles out there, you know, with how forgiving they are with missing a precision burst or two. You know, you can just put a couple of bursts into the head and then just aim straight for the body to clean people up. In practice, you're not going to be able to get away with things as much as you can with those pulse rifles with the nature of the beast, but if you're landing your precision shots, you can really clean people up super quickly with this thing. If anything, I would say the biggest thing that this would benefit from is if they were to make a change overall to time to kill, so where hand cannons in this archetype, in this precision 180 RPM tier, if they could secure their optimal time to kill in 3 precision hits rather than 4, I think this thing would be in a pretty darn good spot. That would take them to about where the fast firing hand cannons were in Destiny 1. And it would continue the motif of it being a precision weapon. If you're landing those critical shots, you're going to have a very fast time to kill. But as with anything in Destiny 2, that's not always going to be easy, so it's really going to be something that rewards skill. If they made that kind of change, you know, overall dropping the time to kill in Crucible, I think this thing would really, really shine as a very, very high difficulty but high reward weapon, although it already is that with the way it is in Destiny 2 right now. In PvE, I absolutely love this thing. It's so much fun to run around with this gun in PvE and just boom, one-shot headshot things and watch them explode into big fiery particles. A lot of that is of course due to the buff that Dragonfly got, and it's really appreciated on a hand cannon. Seriously, take this gun out for a spin in a strike or on a public event or two. If you can get used to kind of the weird way the recoil feels, it's so much fun, it feels so good to shoot, and I am absolutely loving it. It's become part of my my base loadout for my hunter in PvE. You know, I like to just get a big night shot tether with the Orpheus rigs, of course, and then boom, one headshot, everything explodes. It's just a really satisfying weapon overall. So, to recap, the nature of the Beast Crucible 180 RPM precision hand cannon is pretty darn good as an energy weapon. It's got a very demanding time to kill. If you can land 4 precision shots, its time to kill is one of the fastest in the game. But if you're not landing those precision shots, your time to kill is going to shoot through the roof, and that can kind of make this a much more difficult weapon to do really well with consistently. Its base stability and aim assist are great, but its range is a little on the low side, so you're really going to want to keep those encounters to mid-range, because at long range you're going to get outgunned by stuff like pulse rifles, vigilance wing, and of course scout rifles. This gun, as I recall, is actually on sale from Lord Shaxx this week, so if you haven't been lucky enough to pick it up from a package or as an in-game drop, head over there, pick this thing up, play around with it. If you don't enjoy it in PvP, you might love it in PvE, because it feels great in that game mode as well. And while the nature of the beast won't be toppling any vigilance wings anytime soon, it is a very solid, very fun-feeling energy weapon choice that's really going to reward precision. I'm definitely digging it. But alright Guardians, that is it for your review of the nature of the beast Crucible Precision Hand Cannon. Do you Guardians out there enjoy this hand cannon? Do you have your own feelings about it? Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comment section below. But alright, be sure to leave me your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest Destiny 2 news we're putting out. And if you'd like to further support the channel, I've got a Twitch and a Patreon and all those kinds of things you can find links to in the description box below. But I'm out for now. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I'm TheBlackLink. You Guardians, stay frosty.